actually, we are going to start off with you and our agenda for the conference call today. First of all, I'd just like to welcome everyone and thanks for embracing technology and joining us on this best practices webinar today. Our agenda for the meeting will start off with a little time for Vic to talk about some elements from the Department of Education, and then we will move on to the best practices portion of presentation, and we'll start out by hearing from Beyond Bell in Sioux City. Then we'll hear from Storm Lake, and then from Davenport. There will be time for questions with each presenter, and then if there are any other general questions when we get to the end, we can do that as well. All of the documents that we're reviewing today, we will also put up on the wiki. If you haven't visited the wiki site yet, please go ahead and start exploring that site. It's a wealth of information and resources. And the other thing that we will start collecting is we'll have a document that captures the key elements from all of these best practices that we're sharing, and we'll just keep a running log of that as we do these monthly best practices webinars. So, unless there are any questions, do we have any technical questions that need answered before we get any further? Okay, great. Then Vic, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Erin. The first thing I want to share with you is it's a grant amendment form. To my knowledge, they never had one of these on file at the DE, so we've created one. We know that there are going to be school consolidations, there are going to be location changes, there's going to be reasons that over the life of a grant, you're going to need to make some modifications. So what we want to do is provide consistent information to you folks on what we need so that we don't start from scratch every single time. So wanted to share this with you because actually somebody had made a request and I asked if we had the form and they said no. So number one, we need a reason for the change. And then we need you to write up a little bit about, what the change is, how does it affect your budget, and you can attach additional pages if you need to on that spot. And then finally we need the date that you propose the change, and we need signatures from folks that are involved. They all have to sign off and date it. But now this should streamline the process. So if I see one of these forms, you know the information that we're looking for. So that I want to be able to quickly say, yes, this is fine, go ahead, and let's work on the amendment form. I don't see any problem. I think this is a way to make the program a little more user-friendly for the grantees. Does anyone have any questions on this? It's also available as a download from this meeting, and I'm sure they'll put it up on the wiki later as well.
So Vic, can we just email this form to you?
Yes, that's the intent. That's the intent.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it gives you some guidance as well. What information that we need when there's going to be an amendment to your grant. Part of what I want to do is better communicate with everyone. Expectations and as much information as we can share with you. I want to share it.
Vic, would you like to give an example of a time that a grant amendment would be required?
Well, let's say, for example, the school closes. And in general, the federal principle is that the money would follow the kids. So just because you close a school, you don't tell the kids that, oh, well, your school closed, you're done, no more education. We transfer those kids. Those kids are being transferred. This program should be able to follow those children. Continue to serve their needs. But, there's some paperwork required. We need to document that the program may be moving from building A to building B. Or maybe it's moving from a school to a third-party facility.
Those types of changes happen
Those
in the life
types
of
of
a grant.
changes happen in the life of a grant.
And this just gives us some
This
guidance
just gives us
that
some
what we
guidance
need to do to document.
that what we need to do to document it.
Because we have to have it on file when the feds audit us.
Because we have to have it on file when the feds audit us, and they will be coming.
Okay. Any more questions?
Okay. Any more questions?
All right. Well,
All right.
I think I've got a little
Well,
PowerPoint here.
I think I've got a
It's
little
just a few slides
PowerPoint
talking
here.
about some changes.
It's just a few slides.
One of the
talking about
things is that
some
when I
changes.
started a couple of months ago,
One of the
we had some
things is
compliance.
that when I started a couple of months ago, we had some compliance issues, and this was one of the big ones here. So I figured I'd share it with you. Oop, oop.
This has several things,
Um,
and one of them
This has
is
several things.
monitoring
and
sites, and then another one is
One of them
the
is
evaluation.
monitoring
Those are the
sites,
two,
and then another one
things
is
we're going to
the
be
evaluation.
focusing on
Those are the
most.
two things we're going to be focusing on probably
We're
the
going to
most.
monitor and evaluate activities,
Um,
and we'll be
we're going to monitor and evaluate activities,
training technical,
and we'll be
and
overseeing
we
training
gather
technical
information
assistance, and
variety
some of
of
that
sources,
we
not
gather
simply the-
information from a variety of sources, not simply the PPICs. And we're going to be working on
Here's kind of a
the
breakdown of the
YETME.
partnership. The department
Here's kind of a breakdown of the partnership. The department will only be able to do some sites,
official visit.
and when I come
It
out,
doesn't
it'll
have to
be
official. I might just stop by
an official
area.
visit. It doesn't have to be official. I mean, I might just stop by because I'm in the area and say,
Well,
hey,
we,
can I
you know,
pop
the
in
focus will
for
always
an
be
hour?
trying to
Um,
provide
But we, the focus
information
will
that
always be
what we're
trying
seeing
to,
and helping you resolve
provide
issues you might be having.
information that what we're seeing
Now, the
and helping you
contrast,
resolve
the
issues you
Iowa
might be having.
After School Alliance
Now,
will be doing a best
In
practice visit.
contrast, the Iowa After School Alliance will
Formative, not summative. So
be doing a best
they're,
practice visit.
they're not going to be
It'll be formative,
going
not
to
summative. So, they're
details
not
of
going to
budget
be
so much.
going
They,
into
we've had a few
the
things
details
that
of
as
your
we
budget so much. They
are learning how to best
we had
structure
a
it.
few
There was
things
a form
as
that
we,
was guidance from the feds that
are
we
learning how to best
began
structure
to
this. There was a form that was
just
guidance
like a
from the feds
checklist,
that
but that's
we
really
had
the
kind of adapted and
federal
shared
guidance.
with a couple of folks.
And
It looks like a checklist, but that's really the federal guidance.
go through
And
this. We want to
as
have
we
the Iowa After School Alliance promoting technical assistance.
go through this, we want
So,
to have the Iowa
it's
After
good to
School
have
Alliance
them
promoting
visit with
technical
folks and to
assistance
say
and training. So
what's
it's
working well,
good to
what they
have
see
them
that's
visit
you know,
with
working.
folks and
And
to
on
say
part of that formative basis, if they see something that's not
what's
working,
working
you guys
well, what they
let's
see
talk
that,
about it.
that's
Think about it as maybe
and on part of that
off the
formative
record.
basis, if they see something that's not working, you guys can kind of talk
Mhm.
about it. Think about it as maybe an off the record.
These are some of the
meeting.
ways we can gather data. You're all familiar with the PPICs. We've had the YETME.
These are some of the
We've got
ways we can
websites,
gather data.
the wiki in
You're all
Department of
familiar
Ed.
with PPICs.
A new
We've had
thing
the
that
YETME.
I want
We've
to
got websites,
use.
the wiki in the Department of Ed. A new thing that I want to use for us is video and picture data. That's really good if when we have face-to-face meetings, instead of just talking about stuff, to be able to show a video clip, maybe some pictures. Say, look, here are kids engaged. I think that'll
And I
add
know
a little
that
bit of
some
depth
programs may not
to
have all the
discussions.
permissions on students, and if that happens, well, we just won't be
And I know
doing
that some
that unless you have
programs
all
may not have all
of the releases signed
permissions
in order.
on students, and if that happens, well, we won't be
Okay,
doing
so
that unless you have all
What
of
what
the
I'd like to
releases
see
signed
is
in order.
when there's a best practice visit.
Okay, so what I'd like to see is when there's a best practice visit that we find something that each grantee does exceptionally well, so that we can use this as a basis to share with our community of program providers. And then can we identify some exceptional teachers and share the instructional strategies that they're using with kids? That's another very important piece of data that we need to communicate. And sometimes, we're focused on these PPICs and the summative formal kinds of data. And I think that
And here's just
these
some ways
pieces
that
are just
we
as
can
important to
communicate
share out with each other.
with each other. Some of these you
Here's
guys
some
probably
ways
done in the
that
past.
we can communicate
Um,
with each other.
The webinars I know are new, and it's just
Some
another
of
way
these
that we
you
can
guys
communicate.
have probably done in the past. The webinars I know are new, and it's just another way that we can communicate.
And then here are some things that I think that would be the focus for the Iowa After School Alliance.
And then here are some things that I think that would be the focus for the Iowa After School Alliance.
And then this talks about, an official visit. Now, a lot of the official visits might be generated from
this talks about
your own request. Have us come out and do an official visit.
Now, a lot of the official visits might be generated from your own request to have us come out and do an official visit. It could be generated from a lack of data or something, something that we need to follow up on with the
Consider
data.
that I want to try to see everyone,
There
and
could be
if
some
I'm
compliance
at
issues
a
that we
meeting,
need to get together with.
maybe 30 minutes away, I might give you a call and say, hey, can I pop in for an hour?
Plus,
That's,
consider
that's
that
unofficial.
I want to try to see everyone, and if I'm
But
at a meeting, maybe
more visits,
30 minutes away, I might give you a call and say, hey,
think
can I
that
pop
helps
in
us
for an hour? That, that's
the work that's
unofficial.
going on
For
for us to
but
continue to be more
the
efficient.
more visits
be
we
more
have,
productive.
and I think that helps us to understand the work that's going on, and for us
And that's
to
about all I have.
continue to be more efficient.
Does anyone
and
have any
do more
questions?
for the needs of kids. And that's about all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, well, then I'll turn it back over to Erin, and we can get started with some of our presentations from the grantees.
Okay, well, then I'll turn it back over to Erin, and we can get started with some of our presentations from the grantees.
Great. Okay. We will start off with hearing from Sioux City's program Beyond the Bell about the staffing model that they use. And Nicole, I'm going to switch over. We have two documents that Beyond the Bell has shared with us. And Nicole, if you want to just tell me which one you would like to have up, I can also just display.
Okay, well, we can start with our
the documents. We have your organizational chart and the sample training log. So,
we have
Nicole, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, well, we can start with our, and those locations are overseen by our multi-site coordinator, which is the kind of
We have 19.
the multi-site managers each oversee 4 to 5 different locations.
Those locations are overseen by
each of those locations, we have a lead worker. Our lead worker has a variety of responsibilities and sites. They oversee the other workers at that location. They're
our lead worker. There's a variety of responsibilities at play. We oversee the other workers at that location with their checking daily schedules, make sure activities are being carried out. They're handling fees.
multi-site with the youth workers, building case logs, filled out accurately, these policies completely, the first aid kit, doing so they are meeting all those, just making sure, you know, their I's are dotted, such as and serving as a support for the lead youth workers if there are problems. And then we have our assistant program director who I think that affects our program the most is he handles all of our teachers. We have teachers that we hire mostly through our school district to work with our kids after school. Those also put what funding is available for that, whether it's a grant or Title I grant, preschool, maybe how much what are available for that type of what needs do we need for the students. That's what she's pretty busy with these days. And then our program, our grant, we do also have, I think the other thing we sent you in our program was our training law. And I know I can elaborate more on our chain of command. I'm not sure how in depth you want to look at that. Correct. We have, I want to say 9.
Well, do you want to
I'm going to say
explain
the wrong number.
briefly? Not everyone may be aware that not all of your sites are 20th
I believe 9
century.
of them are 20%.
Some are and
so the
some
rest of
aren't.
them
Is that
operate.
right?
Correct. We are based. We have some assistants. I'm going to say the wrong number. Yeah. We do have 9. I believe 9 of them are 20%. The rest of them operate. Sure. We also have our, we call them our fiscal agents. We have Julian Human Investment Partnership. They oversee a lot of our, they help us with a lot
Do you
of
want
our
to talk a little bit about the Beyond the Bell Governance Board and your relationship with
responsibilities
SHIP?
as an organization.
Sure.
You know, they also affect our help us coordinate a lot of those grants. They help us with a lot of our grants for that. What? I guess I'm not sure. Or what? I guess I'm not sure. You know, are people are we staffing or
Both. Maybe do you want to talk a little bit about how you
with our
got your sample
youth
training
workers
log.
or
I'll pull that up. You know, I think one of the things that
that
is maybe somewhat unique for Sioux City is that you do have
use
so many different staff.
I know she has
Am I right? So there's about 200 different staff that support the Beyond the Bell program. Does that sound right?
But we've come up with this Excel spreadsheet where the requirements that DHS has for us. Plug in the dates. Consistently checking that to make sure that we are
On the very last, on the very right-hand side, it says 6 to 10 hours additional training. And the training is not identified.
I have a
Hey,
question.
Oh, go ahead.
On the very last, the very right-hand side, it says 6 to 10 hours additional training.
Our grant.
And
But
the
if you
training
vary,
is not identified. Can you just,
your manager
tell us a little more about what that means?
project, second step, some of those additional training that we provide. We've also, activities like PE type training for happy we had at our ISACA conference last year. We've shifted the math and science line at ISACA last week, I believe it was. So we try to get our staff to do as many of those as we can throughout the year. Try to get them to do that. We actually have one that we're doing here locally that probably won't qualify for that additional training, but we're going to have a local PE teacher come in, work with that student, how to set them up, how to properly use gym equipment. So that's what we're looking at for teaching. It's usually behavior management or leading activities for the student.
Okay, so this primarily is used for reporting to DHS.
Right, just making sure that we're meeting all of the training requirements to meet our DHS requirements.
Some of the training you talked about, we certainly can count it as professional development that you deliver.
Okay, so this primarily is used for reporting to DHS?
She doesn't, I know she keeps track in their files, some of those additional ones we've done that are already approved, but like the one we have coming up, I know they talked about trying to
Some of the training you talked about, we certainly can count it as professional development that you deliver to staff. And I don't know if you're doing that on another forum. Hmm?
Correct. We do have a lot of students that qualify for child care through DHS. That's why we are a licensed provider. All of our sites are licensed part of our requirement.
And just so everyone is clear, as we're talking about DHS requirements, Nicole, that's because you receive child care assistance dollars, is that correct?
Correct. We have a lot of students that qualify for DHS. That's why we are a licensed provider. All of our sites are licensed. Our requirement for
Yeah. Yeah, not every program might be familiar with the child care assistance requirement, so good for everyone to know. You folks have questions for Nicole about how to manage and track the number of employees that they are working with.
Probably the activity choices one would probably be helpful to start off with. Good. Well, thank you, Mike. I wanted to just tell you a little bit about enrichment. The document that you
Storm Lake and Becky, we've got you up to talk about the different ways that you do enrichment and how you schedule enrichment and how you have voice and choice in that. Which document would you like me to start with?
Probably the activity choices one would probably be helpful to start off with. Good. Well, thank you. I wanted to just tell you a little bit about enrichment. The document that you see up kind of gives an example of some of the activities that and then that way they're broken up smaller. And after we have our reading or math or homework interventions each day, the students get to choose. We also ask them, what are some additional activities maybe we can add? There's usually a accommodate that based on that the students get get to choose from, and then that way they're broken up into smaller groups. And these activities are chosen really based upon some things that students have requested. When we give them the activities, they usually for 1 hour. Students fill out, and then we also ask them what additional activities maybe we can add for next session. And we try to accommodate that based upon the resources from community partners or other school
And then
personnel.
hopefully we'll give them all their first choice. And cooking is usually a popular thing when we do offer that.
Those
We have limited,
activities,
you know,
that
space for
students
that.
really like to be in.
Everybody
So it's kind of our goal. So these enrichment activities, they meet usually for 1 hour, and so we have our study groups that meet for 1 hour, and then the enrichment groups are 1 hour each day as well. So the students rank, what the students do is they rank their first, second, third choice for each
by
day.
college
And
students
then
or
hopefully
by
we give them all their first choice. And cooking is usually a popular thing when we do offer that, but we have limited, space for that. We try to get everybody, a turn in cooking if that's their favorite thing, or we always usually offer art, depending on the availability of those community partners as well. Most of these
rely a lot on our students.
activities are staffed by college students or by
That's
like our art.
a little bit about our enrichment schedule.
We partner with the library.
I think again we try to utilize the student feedback. I think is
We
what
have a college of science school where we have college students come and
maybe not get an activity that was their first choice. We try to make it fun for them and enrich their staff.
So that, a little bit about our enrichment schedule. I think, again, we try to utilize the student feedback, I think, is what has been helpful as far as, picking the activities. I mean,
Right. Yes, we
may not
last spring we had received just a small grant from the Department of Natural Resources to add a fishing component into
their afternoon too. So
we started it last spring.
And Becky, I think when we were visiting, we were very interested in the fishing enrichment activity. Do you want to talk about how your partners were with the fishing activity and how that progressed?
Not just learn about fishing, but also about water safety.
Last spring we had received just a
We
small
had a
grant
couple
from
of
the
speakers
Department
come out from
to add
conservation,
fishing
waterfowl,
into one of our enrichment activities, and we started it last spring, real on a 6-week session. We also did it through the summer, and we also did a session in September, and we used the Fish Iowa curriculum, and so students were able to
So that was a great partnership.
not just learn about fishing, but also about water safety, about
Actually, keep the kids out fishing.
we had a couple of speakers come out from Beebe County Conservation, and she talked about waterfowl. The importance of taking care of our water resources and how we go about doing that, looking at watersheds. So that was a great partnership because then we were able to borrow fishing poles from county conservation too, and actually take the kids out fishing and just to enjoy being outside. So I think that was the main goal, is just to help kids to learn about water, fishing, a variety of different things, and then just to appreciate being outside too. So
Right. Yeah, they really did enjoy it. I mean, you're right. It kind of started off with they were real excited to go.
We talked about ways to integrate, school day into actual enrichment activities and looking at informal STEM. That's a great example of, kids may have been interested in the actual fishing part of it, but along the way learned about those science elements.
And then I think that
conservation.
I think there's just the other document looked at
an informal way of
it
the
helps
water,
me to
and
kind of
about
keep track
soil
of
erosion, and
which activities
just a different, like you said, science component of that too.
have materials that for activities.
And then I think that
That really does.
I think there's just the other document that's got just the staffing piece of it. And I don't know for sure if that's helpful or not. This is kind of for the first hour. It looks at what we do for our study groups, and then the bottom section kind of looks at how I keep track of the staffing with each of the activities, for each of the days of the week. And I don't know if that's helpful or not, but it helps me to kind
Yes,
of
that's right,
track of
5th through 8th.
who's in which activity.
So a lot of our
have it
attendees
on
are
staff,
5th and
and then
6th
those
graders. We do
staff
have
also
some
have
7th and 8th, and
materials they need for
a lot of them are in
activity.
sports too, and so it kind of competes with
So
sports,
that really
arena
helps.
events, and practice. But in
Track of all of that.
passion, the sporting events, they do come.
Yeah, I think that's a good way for folks to see how you keep all of the balls juggling in the air when you're dealing with quite a few different activities. I think you probably didn't mention this at the beginning. But
Well, I
we're
think
working
I think it gives kids a
through
variety of
right?
choices
Yes, that's right.
of
5th
things
through
that
8th.
they can do as
And
far
so
as
a lot of our
skills.
attendees are
And I
5th and 6th
So I
graders. We
think
do
it's
have some
been
7th and
really
8th,
helpful, I guess,
and a lot of them are in
the program to
too, and so
realize
it kind of
there's a
competes
lot of
with sports,
community partners out
sporting
there
events and practice.
who
But
are interested
in
in
between
helping
session, in between
facilitate that
sporting events, they do come, and so it's good to
program.
see them.
And I think there's probably more resources out there to tap
Becky, what do you see as the most successful piece
so we can
of
offer these
doing your enrichment in this model?
So I think that would be
I think it gives
the two
kids
things
a
I would
variety of choices of things that they can do as far as building skills. And two, I think it's been really helpful, I guess, for me being pretty new
well, I
to the
think
program.
I think the
realizing
challenging
there's a lot
part
of
would be
community partners
sometimes
out there who are interested in, helping to facilitate activities,
like and
provide
they get into it
resources.
and they just really don't like it. And I'm sure that's
program.
really, really common.
And I think there's probably
then,
more
then adapting and I
resources
think
out there
trying
to
reach
tap into.
yeah,
It's just a matter of, I think, developing those relationships so we can offer these
trying
kinds
to
of
find
activities to the students.
them.
So I think that would be
Middle school kids, are unique
things that I
group,
would
and so
think of
finding things that are they're going to be
about that.
content with after
Are
school.
there any parts of this model that are challenging for you as a director?
Well, I think the challenging part would be sometimes, planning an activity that you think that the students will like, and then you get into it and they just really don't like it. And I'm sure that's really, really common. And so then, then adapting, I think, and then trying to recreate the activity based upon student input, and
Yes,
and then trying
absolutely.
to find something that
So.
will engage them a little bit more. Too.
Well, are there other questions or things that I haven't thought about that need to be?
Just finding things that they're going to be content with after school sometimes is a challenge. So.
Yeah, well, and I think that too speaks to a strength of this design, that you're willing to have that flexibility if you realize that something isn't going quite as you had hoped or isn't as interesting to the students, being able to adapt midstream and
Well, at all of our we're really
make it, into something that maybe would be a little more of a draw for those middle school students who may or may not have any requirements to be there from their parents.
Yes, absolutely. So, well, are there other questions or things that I haven't thought about that need to be presented or?
Well, I'll open it up to the group. Do folks have questions for Becky about either the kinds of enrichment, how she schedules it, anything about this model that they are using?
Well, that's a good question. Usually what happens is at the beginning of a share with the staff. They usually come a little bit before the students get here, and so the kids get out of house. So we usually have them come before the students, get here, and so they have a little bit of time to take a look at the materials to see, what it is that they will be, working on, and we get feedback from the staff too on what activities that they are interested in facilitating.
Well, that's a good question. Usually, what happens
and then try to fit that,
like I said, we're
fit that in so that
we share with the staff. They usually come a little bit
And we really support them by, providing most of the materials and the, kind of the
usually
plans.
have them come before the students, get here, and so they have a little bit of time to take a look at the material,
all of the activities
see,
there.
what it is that they would be, working on, and we give them, we get feedback from the staff too on what
That kind of
activities
helps.
that they are interested in facilitating, that they may have more expertise in, and then, try to
what
fit
their
that,
expertise is, what they're
fit that in so that they can be facilitating something that they're comfortable with,
For
that
November.
they're interested in, and really by, providing most of the materials and the kind of the plans and, here are some goals that we have and here are the activities and materials. So they don't necessarily does that kind of help, or? It does. I was just looking at it. I know we just started this year. We did surveys with our staff to see what, like you said, what their all like for November, and it's been. Right, you're welcome.
What other questions do folks have for Becky?
Okay, I hope I don't let you down. I do.
Okay, well, if you think of something, we'll have some time at the end of all of the presentations, jot it down, and we can go back to that. Now, I'm going to switch you back to the lobby.
Good morning, everyone.
So that
I'd like to start out by
all set to
thanking
go.
Vic at the department for arranging this webinar.
Okay, John, I just made you a presenter. So you will
Better our
be able to
programs will be, and
control
more
your
likely we'll be able
PowerPoint,
to sustain them.
on your own.
I would like to just start with a real quick overview.
You see where the little arrow buttons are?
Davenport. Pretty old veteran.
Okay, so I am going to turn over to John with the Davenport School to talk about their collaboration and the model that they use for their program.
Federal.
Good morning, everyone.
Over the course of those 12
start
years,
off by
we've actually been
thanking
successful
Vic and
in writing no less than 6 successful 21st century proposals. Three of those were federally funded, and 3 of those were
practices.
when the program
Better our programs will be
state
more likely
Department of
to be
Education.
able to sustain them.
We currently operate in
I would
Davenport
like to just start with
21
a real quick overview
sites,
and
all
introduction
school-based.
the scope
Of
of our
those
programs
sites,
in Davenport.
7
We are pretty old veterans with the
of those
21st Century
21
Community Learning Centers funding stream. We've been operating
K-5,
various grants since
14
1999.
5
Received our
programs.
first federal grant. Over the course of those
7 of
12
those
years,
20
we've
schools
been
operate
successful
before and after school.
writing no less
5 of
than
those
6 successful century proposals. 3 of those
pretty
funded when the program was transitioned.
sophisticated network of out-of-school time programming that reaches way back. Not a bit of it could have been done without a focus on community partnerships. The reason why partnership has everything to do with sustainability.
Of those 21,
I know that
we
this
have 16
webinar
elementary
is
schools,
not
which are
strictly
K-5
about sustainability.
and we have
I
5
opportunity to share
programs
today
that
with
are
folks
intermediate or
partnership.
6 through 8.
I'll make the
7 of those
editorial
21
observation.
schools
Everything
operate
we talk
before and after school, and
20%
5 of
the
those
world is
21
about
operate
sustainability.
full
How we
bore
can
summer
keep,
programs as well.
true to
We've got
their
pretty,
intention, which is
deep and
to be able to develop the relationships and partnerships
sophisticated
that allow us
network
to
of
stay in the program
out-of-school time programming
beyond.
that reaches
grant.
way back. Not a bit of it
There are a number of reasons why
without
partnerships are important.
focus on
The 3 that really jump out.
reason
That one is
why partnerships
allows for efficient use,
has everything to do with
using the
sustainability.
community's
I know
physical,
this,
financial,
webinar
human
is not
resources.
specifically about sustainability, and my opportunity to
reduce duplication.
was focused around community partnerships, but I'll
But
make the editorial observation that everything we talk about in the 21st century world is about
we
sustainability.
can afford
How we can make these funds true to their intention, which is
so efficient use of resources is really critical.
that allow us to
Institutional responsiveness.
beyond the terms of the grant.
We in the public sector
Now, there are a number of
we
reasons
exist
why
to serve the public.
partnerships are
Serve
important, but the three that really jump out to me,
development programs
one, it allows
allow
for
us
an efficient use of resources,
adapt
using these physical, financial resources
in the community.
specifically address
We exist to be responsive as
and reducing
institutions
duplication.
to our,
This day
and then finally,
budgets are
the integrated delivery of services.
as well as
We operate better,
in organizations that serve youth and families.
better
We
really
can't
meet our
afford to
goals.
duplicate services. We can't afford to be
These partnerships are effective in that we're better able to meet our own goals
resources.
individually when we work together.
Institutional responsiveness.
Efficient use of resources,
We in the public sector
integrated delivery of
serve
services
the
are
public.
just three of the reasons why partnerships
So
are so
we
important.
must develop those programs and services.
Now we'll go ahead and go to the
Adapt
PowerPoint. Short little few slides that we prepared just to kind of give you a picture of K through 5 programs are called STEPS.
institutions to our
Our intermediate programs are called.
finally
Our particular
integrated delivery of services.
model is collaboration with
We operate better and better serve the
the City of
public.
Davenport.
Better really meet our own goals. There's kind of an enlightened self-interest that works when partnerships are effective in that we're better able to
Updated
meet our own goals individually when we work together. So efficient use of resources, institutional responsiveness.
The Davenport model and its framework has evolved over the past decade to balance and create three key functions: capacity building and adaptability, program creativity, and financial stability. And in each of those circles, you will see elements of each of those functions that have been critically important. As we've learned over the past 12 years, take any one of those circles
Our
out of it.
particular model is a collaboration between Davenport Community Schools and the City of Davenport.
I would point to you in the capacity building and adaptability sphere that it's really important for us to look at the research, have your knowledge base in place, study, learn about other programs. That's why this wiki and these webinars.
The Davenport model and its framework has evolved over the past decade to balance and create a dynamic from three key functions: capacity building and
Quality standards, work of the Alliance,
financial stability. And in each of those circles,
quality work group, and sharing effectiveness standards with grantees across the state is really important. Advocating for your program both locally, at the state level, and the federal level. Local school board, or local city council, key partners, so you need to be informed about the work that you do. It's also important to advocate at the state level with the legislators, there's a resource to that, and the after-school alliance out of the national level.
Learn about other programs. That's why this
Technical important evaluation. You have to be able to prove
across the state of Iowa, across the
professional development.
there are so many different models that
In Davenport, all our staff
suit and adapt to our
provided with 32 hours
quality standards. The
staff
Alliance are
development,
developing
20 hours pre-service, or
quality work,
12 hours.
effectiveness standards.
The program creativity is really the interesting part. I was
Advocating
fascinated to listen
locally, at the state level, and then the federal
approach
level.
to staffing,
Local
because
school board,
that's where the creativity
local city council,
how you position
key partners,
to do the job
informed about the work.
best.
It's also important to
Really
advocate at the state level
use
with
the
legislators and alliance. There's
put people in position.
and the after-school alliance out at the national
There's
level.
so many different elements there that allow for creativity. How you involve the
Evaluation. You have to be able to
role
prove
of
professional development.
but the role of volunteers.
Davenport, all our staff
Well, there was one
are
earlier
provided
slide
with
where
32 hours
there was a relationship
staff
with
development.
what appeared to be a
20
team.
hours pre-service, 40,
How do you
12 hours.
apply your own creativity to developing a program?
The program creativity
Flexible.
is really the interesting part. I was fascinated to listen
And then finally, the financial stability.
to Storm Lake's
Partner in kind is huge.
staffing
partners at
because
Iowa State
that's where the
University.
creativity and stuff comes in. How you position people to do the job.
Essential. Not only on a contractual basis, we work with them as our evaluators outside of PSEC, but then also in areas of professional development and test enrichment partners. Grants and charitable funds always be seeking to fill in.
How you involve the community. What's the role of parents?
That's part of any good sustainability. We in Davenport work with a sliding fee. We are fee-based.
Saw there was
Non-grant pool.
earlier slides where
We offer a sliding
there was a relationship with a
scholarships available.
how do you apply it
We also work with Department of
flexible and seek
Quality.
and finally the
Those three elements together sort of make up our partnership.
partners at Iowa State University.
We've undergone a series of phases of growth. I won't go into this in terribly great
Only on a contractual
phases.
evaluate
Those we're just starting
outside of people, but then also in areas of professional development,
somewhere in between.
grants and charitable funds, always be seeking.
Take heart. There is a way. It can be done.
That's part of any
Evidence of that. It is not easy. It does take time.
fee-based.
Phase one was a period of pre-21st
To offer a sliding fee based on
together shared in
scholarships
sought out
available.
local charitable funds. Summer program.
Foundation. Also work
Very successful, but it led to phase two when the opportunity for 21st
those three elements together kind of make up our
late 1990s. We were prepared with an interesting,
undergone
very successful model that
terribly
applies very well to
there were phases. So
principles.
those of you who are just starting out,
During that phase two, we
somewhere in
wrote
between
three
transition between grant funded
successful federal grants that at our high point we were operating 14
take heart.
fully phased, fully implemented, bells and whistles,
It is not easy.
school, before school, and summer program
Phase one
with that federal money.
pre-21st
However, it was an unsustainable model. It was a castle in the air. There was so much resource there that weren't charging any fees. It was
very successful, but it led to phase
just
two
the 21st century
when
fund,
the opportunity for 21st
putting the whole bill. We learned a valuable lesson.
we were prepared
Phase three, which was when grants go away and money goes away as a program.
that
This was a very
applied
stark
very well to
shift. It was a very difficult transition. We went from serving 14
during that phase
schools,
two.
about 1,000 kids a year,
Wrote three successful federal grants.
fee-based sites
At our
that
high
served about
point, we were
150.
operating 14
But we
full,
faced that.
fully
We did not
phased
lose heart. We believed in
bells and whistles after school,
those
before
local
school,
sources of
summer
funding.
programs
We were fortunate
with that
to have
federal
riverboat.
money.
We
However,
were able to get some
was
sustainability from
an
there. We
unsustainable
introduced the
model.
sliding fee
That's
scale.
what
Started working
so much
all
resource
kinds
there.
of ways. This
We're not
happened.
charging any fees. There
Now,
was investment
in phase four, I should
just
say,
the
phase
21st
three
century
began
funds,
in 2000.
putting the
So
whole
for the
bill.
past 6 years,
And
we've
we
been
learned a
working
valuable
on a
lesson
partnership model
to
that has been
phase three,
blended
which
revenue
was when the grants go away and the money goes away.
all grow,
This was a very stark
realize the importance
shift,
of evaluation,
very difficult transition.
demonstrate to our partners
Serving
that what we're doing
14 schools and about 2,000 kids a year.
more heightened
Six fee-based sites that served about 150.
knowledge-based.
But we, face of that, did not lose heart.
They're all pieces that, while they are a little bit separated from the day-to-day operational programming that exists, they are absolutely essential.
So we were able to get sustainability funds.
That is another reason why
Sliding fee
partnerships
scale.
are so important.
We started working
Because
with
down on
chess.
that
There's
grassroots
all
level,
kinds of ways to
their
happen.
staff are working their
Now,
hearts
as we
out.
enter into phase four, I should
Yes.
say phase three began in
Why?
2005. So for the past 6 years, we've been working
There
on
has to be a whole other layer of work.
that has been a blended revenue model. Continue to evolve.
Just a few of the operational efficiencies that we realized by our effective partnership.
Demonstrate to
Work
our
with the city of
partners
Davenport,
that what
all of our staff,
impact
after school, summer, before school program,
more heightened
with
awareness,
the exception of our
importance of
instructors,
staff development,
certified teachers,
knowledge base,
schools.
research.
All of our staff are actually employed by either
They're all pieces
City of Davenport Parks
while
and
they are
Recreation Department,
been
or Scott
separated
County.
from day-to-day operations and programming,
Scott County Campus Wide is our
they are absolutely essential to sustainability.
K
And
through
that
5
is another reason why
site,
community
all the
partnerships are so
staff,
important. Because down on that, on the grassroots level, staff are working their
on our end, Davenport Community Schools
with
is the
kids,
instructional component.
changing
We
their
also
lives and having an impact on their
scholarships that are administered.
outcomes.
We work
There has
with
to be a
DHS
whole other
Child
layer
Services
of work that's
directly.
being done.
We also
City
access
partners
scholarship support through United Way.
just a few of the operational efficiencies that we realize
On the other hand,
effective partnerships.
balance of our program
Work with
is
the
that
city of
while we
Davenport,
provide the
all of our
academic
staff,
elements
our
to our
after-school, summer, and before-school programs,
teachers, Parks and Rec,
with the exception of
host
our instructors, certified teachers,
provide
and Davenport Schools
and
employees.
of course we work
All of
together.
our staff are actually employed by either the City of Davenport Parks and Recreation
It's been
Department
successful.
or Scott County Family Y.
Not to blow our horn, but sometimes
Scott County Family Y is our
education
partner
world
at the
we don't
intermediate level, grade 6 through 8,
know it.
but K through 5,
Sharing
in our 16th site,
proud to
all
say
the
that
staff with the
we
exception of
received a number
teachers
of awards.
employed by the Parks and
Development
Recreation Department.
Association taught award in
On our end, Davenport
staff
Schools manage the instructional component. We also manage the fees, scholarships that are
Iowa Community Education
we work with
Association
DHS Child Care System directly.
received the Community
We also
Education
access
Award for innovative
scholarship support,
partnerships.
United Way
We've
donations.
been presenters at the National Learn and Serve America Conference and
Balance of our program
sustainability models
while
and
we provide the access
state and federal level as well. And we've been pleased to participate in a number of webinars
to
and
a host of partners.
conference presentations on sustainability and community partnerships.
And of
So,
course, we work together on,
take heart. For those of you who are new grantees, there is a way. It
and
can
it's
be.
been successful.
And for those of you who are
Not to
on
blow
the
our
edge
horn, but sometimes
of
it's
losing
education
the grant
where we
or
don't
transitioning away from
telling
the fee-based model,
sharing our
realize that there'll be
I'm
some
proud
shifts,
to say that
there'll be some
we've
changes,
received a number of awards.
leave them with
The
the
National Development
stable.
Association's Audrey Nelson Award
Your data,
2000
really evaluate
issued to Davenport Schools for
your
outstanding
partnerships that you've had the opportunity to form over the past 5 years and carry you through to a.
received the Community Education
That's all I've got.
Partnership
Hope there's some questions, but if not,
Centers,
I hope that what
National Learn and Serve America
I've been able to present to you today has been helpful.
our sustainability model. As well,
I just had one question. This is Becky in Storm Lake, and you talked a little bit about your slide scale,
so
sustainability,
take
and
heart.
we're here at a middle school, and in our last year of funding, and are looking at transition
On the edge,
phase. And just wondering, I'm not sure if you have middle school programs that are fighting to be successful, or if your
realize that there'll
schools
be
are
some
primarily
shifts,
elements.
there'll be some changes, but
The intermediate schools, we have one grant, 21st Century Grant,
your data, the evaluation,
that
you're doing
serves our
effective.
intermediate schools. This year was our first year of piloting a fee-based model.
Form over the past 5 years.
We are struggling.
Carry you.
Okay.
I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it for you. We are struggling.
That's all I've got.
2 years ago, we began to phase in
Questions, but if not,
modest,
I hope that what I've
modest
presented
fee-based
today has
structure.
been helpful.
It doesn't begin to cover
Great, thank you so much, John. What questions do folks have for John?
the idea of fee-based model. In that area,
I just had one question. This is Becky in Storm
even
Lake,
a
and
program like ours,
talk a little bit about your sliding fee scale and
has a number of
sustainability. And I
very
just,
positive
we
experiences.
are here at a middle school and in our last year of funding and are looking at transitioning into
The
fee-based.
fees that
And
we were charging were
just wondering, I'm not sure if
$15
you have
annual
middle school
registration
programs that
fee,
the fee sliding fee has been successful, or if
$5
your
or $10
schools are primarily
or
elementary
bulky.
schools.
Well,
The
I
intermediate
think
school,
that has something
we have
to
one
do
grant,
with exceptions that have
in its 5th year. That grant serves our
be a fee,
intermediate schools.
maybe not a child.
This year was our first year of piloting a fee-based
So
model at
that's what
intermediate. We are struggling.
we're fighting.
Right. No, thank you for sharing that. That's kind of what's happening here. So I was just kind of wondering how. Okay,
2
that's
years
helpful.
ago, we began to phase in a modest, I mean modest, fee-based structure that doesn't even begin to cover the expenses, but just getting parents introduced to the idea of a fee-based model in the intermediate, and in that area, we are struggling. So even a program like ours that has been
I'm not surprised by the silence. This is the challenge for our state, really yet wrote a successful grant for high school programming. Expect that it'll probably look something like service orientation, mentoring, and/or career development if we go in that direction at some point. But right now, we are so focused on trying to figure out this difficult, complex challenge of serving kids. I don't know.
I know that's an issue that's come up for several programs. Is there anybody
we might have to look to our community to be able to say, what are the benefits of keeping our kids that are 10 to 14 safe place after? It doesn't take rocket.
I'm not surprised by the silence.
Let's
Not either.
It's a challenge for our state. Really, it's a challenge for our country.
Vandalism,
What to do with the kids in
all those
I think with high school, I can point to that
kinds of things are what residents
Davenport's experiences. We've got some
community, whether they have
high
kids or
school
not.
and out of school time
So
is a different kind of animal. We've not yet wrote a successful grant for high school after school programming.
Educating that we take the
We suspect that it'll probably look something like
I think it has
service
to be more than
orientation,
just it has to be the
mentoring,
entire
and
community
development.
partnership.
Go in that direction at
We
some
value
point.
our youth,
Right now,
want them
we
to
are
be
so
safe, productive citizens.
focused
While
on
we feel we
trying
have a
to
good model, K through 5,
figure out
doing
this
some really good things.
difficult, complex
Got
challenge
to start
of serving kids. I don't know what the answer is, except that if this is what we have to contend with, we might have to look to our community to be able to say, what are the benefits of our kids that are 10 to 14 years old, safe place after school and off the streets? Well, gosh, it doesn't take rocket scientists to figure out that substance abuse prevention, gang prevention, teenage pregnancy prevention, vandalism and criminal activity, all those kinds of things are what resonate with the community, whether they have kids or not. So we're just going to have to tell the story a little bit better about why.
This is Barb Winter, and one thing that kind of connects in with this, and we're not fee-based, but we found two good evidence-based programs.
Value our youth,
One is called
want them to be safe, productive citizens. While we feel we have a good model for K through 5,
and we've been able to incorporate that into our county.
we've got to start focusing on these middle years.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and not only the idea of keeping our kids safe, but the gains that they can realize as we're looking at enrichment that's tied to supporting the school day but not replicating it, and looking at those enrichment activities that support informal learning in a way that depending on a student's learning style, they may be much more suited to a learning style that's happening in the out-of-school time programs that would really support their learning within the school day. And I think that's another great argument for why it's so important to have, great programs here in the state of Iowa.
This is Barb Winter, and one thing that kind of connects in with this, and we're not fee-based, but we found two good evidence-based programs underneath substance abuse prevention. One is called Project Venture, and one is called Leadership and Resiliency, that models this really well. And we've been able to incorporate that into our county substance abuse program.
Great. Other questions for John or comments about really any of the things that we talked about today on the webinar? Let's switch this back to our home screen, and we have somebody that was asking about the website for the wiki. If you look under the chat box, I have the wiki website up there. So if folks haven't accessed the wiki site, like I said, go on, explore, have fun. If you're not familiar with the concept of a wiki, it's pretty exciting because not only is it a website that you would look at, you have the ability to share information on that wiki site. So if you're familiar with Wikipedia, that would be sort of the most publicly familiar type of a wiki where everyone goes on and shares that information. Our wiki site.
Hi, Ashley. This is Barb Winter, and I think you kind of know our program, but getting staff to work is kind of is a very much.
We will also, as I mentioned before, we'll share all of the documents that we've covered today up on the wiki site. We'll also have a link to the recording of this webinar on the wiki. We will be recording all of our webinars, our monthly best practice webinars. So if you aren't able to join us for one of the webinars, you'll be able to access the recording of it. So yeah. Any other questions or final thoughts? I think we have a question from Ashley, who I think does not have the ability to be on the conference call. She's asking if there are any rural centers that have advice for getting staff to work in the program. Being located in the country, it's very challenging for getting staff. Any folks that have advice for Ashley in a rural area?
Hi, Ashley. This is Barb Winters, and I think you kind of know our program, but getting staff to work is a very much a challenge in the rural area. But look to community members who are interested, parents that perhaps have a interest, people that work like in Keystone or as teacher aides, perhaps in part-time jobs, new teachers coming out of college. Those are some ideas.
Other strategies for engaging folks when you're located in a rural area? Okay. Well, if you think of things, feel free to contact Ashley. Ashley says thank you. And just as a reminder, up on the wiki site, the contact information for